All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the video we've been waiting for. The final video lecture of this course covering Chapter 12, Incorporating Basic Skills in Occupational Education. And those basic skills we're talking about is reading, writing, and math. How in the world can you and I incorporate that into our lessons? Well, we'll take a look at that in this chapter. Now, let's look at reading skills. Reading skills are a necessity in at least 99% of today's jobs. I guess we can also, we can pretty much make the case that they're necessary in every job. But unfortunately, there are a whole lot of people out there that have a number of reading problems, reading disabilities, one of the most common being dyslexia, where individuals will get their words mixed up, the letters mixed up. And so certainly if you cannot see the word, to be able to sound out the word, or even see the patterns of the letters to be able to spell it right and identify it, then you're going to have some issues being able to read, and certainly not be able to read instructions, read any kind of technical manual or anything like that. So that kind of disability really requires some professional help, and that may be above and beyond some of the ability that we have as educators. We will need reading specialists or medical professionals to be able to diagnose those problems and also come up with some solutions or treatments for that kind of problem. And so it's being able to put our students in the hands of those professionals that can provide those kinds of resources that maybe we can't provide. And certainly my job covers point 4, and that's remedial reading instruction. Those of us like myself that teach developmental education in the technical and community college system are tasked with the responsibility of remedial reading instruction. And so we do that by a number of ways, by lecturing and demonstrating good reading techniques, finding a topic sentence and then looking for the supporting details in a paragraph to get the true meaning of whatever the writer is trying to convey. We go through reading exercises where you can increase your speed. We use computerized reading software to be able to diagnose and as well as teach proper reading skills. One of the most common we have is a program called Plato that provides a lot of reading exercises and diagnostics to be able to address and to be able to remediate students and help them build their skills to a higher and higher level so they'll be successful. So reading skills are extremely important. Writing skills. Let's face it, we thought with the advent of computers that we wouldn't need to write a whole lot. Well, that's one of the things that we can do with a computer, and that's write. And so obviously our writing skills need to improve in order for us to communicate effectively using the written word with people. And one of the first things that we can certainly do in order to be effective writers is know the audience. Know who it is that you're writing to. Is it the general public at large, whose reading skills can be from, college level all the way down to kindergarten? Or are we writing to a select group of people, our peers, our co-workers, who should be about on the same reading and writing level as we are? And so knowing that audience is critical. And avoiding miscommunication. Obviously, if we're talking face-to-face, we can get some meaning from looking at a person as they speak and hear the tone of their voice, their how they're receiving or giving that information, to kind of know whether or not it's important, just by basically reading their body language. We don't have that looking at an email. And so we need to take our time writing emails so that sentence by sentence by sentence, as we put that message together, our people reading the email are going to get the message that we want them to get. And certainly we have workplace writing, which is a whole lot different than writing for entertainment or literature or anything like that, where writers will do essays or novels or things like that, or poetry, for us to kind of read and to, identify with. Workplace writing is very, very focused and very, very specific. And so there's none of that there. So it's a whole different type of writing that we try to teach our students. And then certainly set a good example. I can't express how bad it looks on a teacher who's going to be talking about writing correctly, going over proper grammar, proper sentence structure, and things like that, when you're going to give a handout to somebody that you've created and there's misspelled words. There are formatting errors. There are problems with that text. And so if we want our students to be able to write well, we need to write well ourselves so that they've got at least some example to follow. Then we come to math skills. Math is one of these subjects that you either like it or you hate it, one of the two. And I wish I had $1 for every student that told me that they hated math. I could have been retired a long, long time ago. But math skills, just like reading skills, just like writing skills, are very, very important for our students to know, both in our classroom and whenever they go to work. They'll be asked to quantify all kinds of stuff. Whenever they're, in the case of our truck drivers, keeping logs, how many miles they've driven in a day, week, whatever. In our business departments, teaching accounting, our drafting, machine shop, welding, where they are reading measurements. They're having to add, subtract, multiply, and divide measurements in order to build and design the products that you and I use. That kind of leads into the measuring side of things. Using distance measurements, weight, volume, area. Those are the kinds of things that are everyday kinds of math that everybody needs to know. Let's face it, if you're going to go out there and need to change your floor in your house, it's a very, very simple thing for you to be able to do by just finding the floor area of your room, and understand that's what that math does for you. It gives you some kind of square area, and then you can go to the store, either Home Depot, Lowe's, or some flooring store, and tell them, I need so many square feet of flooring. You need so many square feet of carpet, or square yards of carpet, however that product's sold. And so measurements are an integral part of our world. And so being able to take those measurements, manipulate them mathematically to come up with the answers that we need, those are skills that everybody needs to know. Now, as vocational educators, we can kind of see how these core skills are used on a daily basis by workers by doing something called an occupational task analysis. And that's nothing more than just some outside observer going in and just observing everything that is done on the job by workers on a regular basis. This is something you may take a few days to do, or weeks, but it's looking at documenting every task that worker does, and then sometimes following up with some interviews of them to see, why did you do this, why did you do that, and things like that. But once that occupational task analysis is completed, then we know these are the kinds of core skills that students need to know if they're going to go perform that job successfully. And then that kind of builds the next point, the technical task list, knowing what skills are necessary, both from a hands-on standpoint and from a academic standpoint, and just listing them out. These are the most important. These are not so important. And also trying to develop a can-do atmosphere, making students believe that they can do what we've asked them to do, being able to do math. I try to get my students to not think negatively. I think our military has this mindset of a positive mental attitude, or PMA. Instead of saying that you can't do that, this is what we can do and will do. And so that right there changes that mindset, and then having success and building upon that success over and over and over can certainly turn around students' negative attitudes towards things, and then that, of course, will open up a whole new world for them. Now, we have some things called interdisciplinary basic skills programs that your book talks about. And we'll go over a few of these right here. One of them is called teaming. Where you do a little team teaching. You may be a vocational educator, but you may have a math teacher work with you on some math problems. That's the approach that we used way back when we were trade schools. You had your instructors that taught the hands-on lab portion of their course, and the students progressed through all of their assignments and all of their work in that lab. But then there were sections of that course where, let's say, they had to do a math lesson, learn how to measure. Let's just say read a tape measure, and had to show that they could read one. Well, they would go over to the what we call related instructor, and that instructor would then teach that lesson to them and go over all of the assignments associated with that section of the course. Then, once that student passed that section, they then went back to the lab and received reinforcing instruction on that lesson. And so all of the course was built on integrating the hands-on and the academic or related knowledge together. It was very, very focused. Staff crossover is where you would have basically some teachers who can teach more than one thing. You know, I could serve as a drafting teacher, maybe for some courses, and also teach math or English also. The integrated model is where all of your core work and hands-on activities are all integrated together, like I just mentioned. A while ago. Non-integrated model is where you will separate your vocational and your academic lessons, and in order to get into your program of study, you'd have to pass all of your remedials. That's a direction it looks like we're going right now, and now that we've merged as a community college system. And then we've got the combination method, which integrates the two of them together. And that's pretty much, I think, probably just about everybody's, what everybody's doing right now. Somebody comes into a technical community college, they need to take some remedial education in math, English, or reading. Doesn't mean that they can't get into the orientation class or take a computer literacy class while they're taking developmental ed or remedial ed. So we want to get people in so they can get acclimated to the higher education world and process. So, and that's probably the most common model of all. Then we got competency-based instruction. This is where we're not worried about, I should say, the structure of a course. We're talking about the content here and skills that the students have to have, and that is what progresses them through a program of study. They don't progress, for example, to let's say examples of diesel mechanics. They don't learn about engines until they learn about the safety aspects, how to utilize the tools and equipment that they'll be using as students, and things like that. It's all built in to the program itself, and they have to master one thing before they move on to the next thing. Then another way to do it is student contracts, where just like any contract, the both parties lay out exactly what each one is responsible for, and that in order to earn such and such a grade, student and the teacher have to do two separate things. I, for one, have never done student contracts before, but I know teachers who have, and they love it. And then finally, we have tutoring. Certainly, sometimes a peer, another student, can explain things sometimes better than we can. And also, that tutoring is usually done outside of the classroom. I know one of the things that we're going to be having starting at our school and all the other branch schools of South Louisiana Community College is like a tutoring center, where someone will be in there in that lab, and students can come in and get extra help on some of the things that they're struggling with. It could be teachers coming in during their off time, or else have some hours that they've agreed to spend in the tutoring lab. Maybe other students. We haven't kind of worked out those logistics yet, but certainly by the fall, by this time next year, these labs are going to be well integrated into our schools, and so that's a good thing to help students get the help that they need. So this wraps up chapter 12, and I guess wraps up the course. It's my hope that each and every one of you got something out of this course that you can use as you move forward. Certainly, each and every one of us as vocational teachers, we're going to be utilizing labs, and it's just integral to the way that we teach. And let's face it, our labs are never exactly like we would want them to be. But if we have a plan, if we look long term and move forward incrementally to improve our labs, improve our use of the labs, this can certainly really help our students get prepared for the careers that they've chosen, and to make it easier for us to teach. Because when it's all said and done, we're trying to improve, and that's all we can do. So with that, I will end this lecture and have it posted for you as soon as I can.